The woman in your life who will do what she must do to comfort you and calm you down and let you rest now. The woman in your life, she can rest so easily.
Hello everybody and welcome to Women's Spaces. My name is Elaine Holtz and I'm your host, and as always I am thrilled about today's show. I have with me a special guest, Gallian, who is the mayor of Sonoma, and I know that she has a lot of great information to share with us, how she got to be where she is. And I mean, Lori is just one of those people that you just sit down and talk with and you just enjoy. But before we start the show, I have a few announcements to make. First of all, I brought with me a new friend. This is a slug. If you can imagine this. This is the mascot for UC Santa Cruz. And my grandson Ryan, I am so proud to announce that he actually got his Bachelor's of Art, or rather a Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental Studies. And he also has a minor in Earth Sciences. And I just wanted to do a shout out for him. Ryan, I am so proud of you. But sometimes I wonder about this mascot, a slug, because if I'll tell you something, if I find a slug in my garden, I'm going to slug him. Anyway, congratulations, Ryan. And the other thing I want to go over with my viewers is some really exciting things are happening. I mean, I don't know what other word to use other than exciting. And that is that there's a group of people who are trying to go over to Gaza and bring letters to the people there, and also to bring some supplies for the children, toys, etc. And one of the people who happens to be on the boat is none other than, this is Alice Walker. I don't know, I hope you folks remember Alice Walker. I mean, all of us, you know, a lot of times people have short memories, but she actually wrote The Color Purple and actually won a Pulitzer Prize for it. And she's on the ship, and you know, one of the things, you know, this is a very emotional thing, and I know there's all kinds of stories we get out from the news media as to why this is happening. You know, some people are saying there's bombs on the ship, some people are saying that these are very aggressive people, and you know, these are just a group of people, you know, just simple, ordinary citizens like us trying to go over to another country that's experiencing a lot of unhappiness, war, you know, all kinds of things that are going on in that area. And you know, the fact that Alice Walker I mean, she doesn't have to do this. She doesn't have to get on a boat and put her life in danger. Why is she doing this? Well, I want to take and read just one little statement from a rather larger statement that she made. And if any of my viewers are interested in having a copy of this, all they have to do is email me at elaineholtz@yahoo.com, and I'm happy to send you a copy. I will have the email address at the end of the show, not to worry. But this is what she says. And what of the children of Palestine who were ignored in our president's latest speech on Israel and Palestine, and whose impoverished, terrorized, segregated existence was mocked by the standing ovation recently given in the U.S. Congress to the Prime Minister of Israel? I mean, notice what she's saying. And what of the children? I mean, just think about children in war zones. I mean, we are so blessed that we're not in a war zone. I mean, you have to really think about it. And Walker goes on to make the following statement, which I think is so powerful. And when I heard it, I couldn't help but cry. I mean, I literally cried, and I'm going to, at the end of the program, I'm going to list this part of this speech. As adults, I like to think that we're adults. Sometimes I wonder even about myself. We must affirm constantly that the Arab child, the Muslim child, the Palestinian child, the African child, the Jewish child, the Christian child, the American child, the Chinese child, the Israeli child, the Native American child, etc., is equal to all others on the planet. We must do everything in our power to cease the behavior. Now listen to this. We must do everything in our power to cease the behavior that makes children everywhere feel unafraid. I mean, just think about that. Well, my hat is off to Alice Walker. I want to thank her. I want to thank her for her courage. I want to thank her for writing the color purple. And above all, I want to thank her for being willing in the name of children, because you know that's what Women's Spaces is all about. What do I do at the end of the show? I tell my women viewers, get off your duff. Make your Congress people, make the President aware of the United States aware that before they make decisions, before they take votes, they ask one simple question. Is it good for the children? If it's not good for the children, folks, we shouldn't do it. Why? Because if it's not good for the children, it's not good for the future. And I know there's not one person out there that doesn't want a future. Anyway, that's quite a bit to chew on and think about. And you know, that's the whole purpose of this show. We all got to start thinking for ourselves and not letting the media think for us, but start thinking for ourselves. Well, anyway, now without further ado, I want to introduce my dear friend. And you know, folks, I got to tell you something. This is Mayor Lori Gallian. And what do I call her? Do I say Mayor Lori? Do I say Mayor Gallian? No, I'm just going to call her my dear friend Lori. Well, Lori, welcome to Women's Spaces.
Welcome also to you in all of your endeavors that you are doing here to improve the lives of women. Oh. And Elaine, it's wonderful to be here with you. We've talked about it for many times, and it's just great to be here and actually doing this together with you today.
Well, thank you, Lori. You're so kind. Anyway, you know what I like to do at the beginning, you know, here you are. Let me just read to my viewers just a little bit about you. You're currently serving your third year of a 4-year term to the City of Sonoma Council, and you're their mayor, you know, and you work monthly with many Sonoma County committees representing the City of Sonoma on environmental issues, Sonoma County Transportation Authority, regional climate. I mean, it can go on and on about all the things you do. In fact, I'm amazed that you have the energy you do. So what I like to do is I could read off this list, but I think it's more important if you just tell our viewers just a little bit about yourself, anything that you feel comfortable.
Well, I have to say that when I first started thinking about a possible political career, I was asking why. And then it soon became, why not? And one of the reasons that motivated me to get into politics was actually for our future generations. And I have a son. He's now currently 22 years old. He's in the Marine Corps as a reservist. And he was a prime motivator in me getting involved in politics in my community. When he graduated from high school as an 18-year-old, he said to me, Mom, he said, look at the world that your parents left you. Look at the world that you have left me. And he said, and what are you going to do about it? Well, considering that this was a graduation evening, I decided, well, I wasn't going to fire back at him. It's not really my time. It's really your time. And I said to him, I said, I'm going to have to think about that. And I thought about it. And several people were encouraging me to run at that point. And this was I think it was right around June of 2007. And I said, well, maybe there's a possibility. So I told him I'd get back to him on it, and several months later I told him that I would run for city council. And he said, gee, Mom, I didn't think you'd go that big. So as a result of that, I had campaigned to go ahead and be a female, first of all, a woman that was running for political office. The second is that I had a full-time job. This was not about going ahead and having being retired and deciding to step up to serve the community, but it was to show people that you too could be working full-time and still be able to do this job here in the city. And that was one of the things that I felt was important. It isn't about counting the hours that you could work. It was about the fact you can move this into your schedule. When I come back to how I first started, Steve Barbos asked me if I would be interested in being a community member for the Sonoma County Climate Action Plan back in 2007. So as a seroptimist in Sonoma Valley, we're all about community membership and getting involved in community. I decided that I would go ahead and fill out the application. My husband at that time, and still now currently, he's a keeper, Ray Gallian, was on the Planning Commission, and he went as the government representative along with Steve. So we were, in fact, representing a large participation level within the city of Sonoma. Well, after several weeks of mind-numbing science on climate change and adaptation and scientific figures and whatever, I realized, wow, I actually understand this. I have a grasp of this information. It was kind of challenging for me in the beginning. And I said, well, let's move on. I became an environmental commissioner after that for the city of Sonoma, and then entered the campaign for being city council.
Well, you know, you said something extremely important at the beginning. I mean, that your son, how profoundly asking that question. And then all of a sudden starting to look at yourself. Here you have a full-time job, but also putting yourself on, like on the environmental, the climate protection organization, where you felt that you didn't know anything, and yet you went and read and discovered that, hey, I can understand this, I can do something. I mean, that's very important for women to hear that sometimes when we go into positions, we don't have to be the expert. We can learn, and sometimes in that learning it becomes a little bit even broader than if we were so-called the expert. Well, you know, one of the things I'd like to ask you is, what was, when you decided to run and you filed for all the papers, what were some of your challenges? Like you said, you ran as a woman, as a mother. What were some of the challenges that you had to face?
Well, when you talk about being a candidate, I think it is about confidence. It's making sure in yourself that you have the ability to go forward and represent a community. For me, one of the things that I knew, I had worked for Ken Brown as a campaign manager in one of his previous election campaigns, so I knew I could do the job of a campaign. The question is making that transition from being one who supports a candidate and one who is the candidate.
Wow.
And so in the very beginning, I talked to one of my very good friends who said, hey, there's a training program out there, and maybe you would be interested in doing it. So I said, well, fine. She says, the problem is that the deadline is the day after tomorrow. And I said, oh, that's interesting. She said, go ahead and go to this website, download the application, and put it together. And I realized that this application, I could have taken weeks, I could have taken months, I could have done anything in order to be able to prepare for it, but I literally had 24 hours in which to do it. So focus is very definitely something that you must have in organization. So filling out the forms, putting it together. This organization is Emerge California, which is a political training program for women, progressive women, to go ahead and put them through the pipeline so that they can go ahead and go into office in both our legislature and our local governments, our school boards, all of our elected board positions. And it's so vital to have that representation of women on those organizations.
Why do you say that? Why do you say it's important to have women? I mean, what
it was just confirmed a few weeks ago in an article that I read that said even hedge fund managers are looking for boards of corporations that have at least a 40% representation in women because of the sound decisions that the companies actually make based on the input of women and corporate women and their decision-making policies.
Well, hopefully, you know, with that attitude, we'll get some more women in there for peace. You know, I mean, that is an astounding thing. That is an astounding thing to know. So you went to an actual class.
I went through a political training program. It was spread over approximately 7 months in its entirety. The interview was literally 20 minutes. The application was 3 pages, 3 to 4 pages of what I had to submit. I walked in, they said, well, do you think you can do the job? I said, I just don't think I can do the job. I'm already filed and ready to put in all my papers. I've already been a campaign manager. It's about being a candidate. I'm doing this. And someone liked that energy, and before I know it, out of 100 and some candidates for this particular class, it was 26 that were accepted, and I was one of the 26.
So back to what you said about the confidence.
Yes.
You know, that to have confidence, and also to know that you're a human being and that you can do some good. I mean, my hat's off to you. That's a very important point, the idea of confidence, and then your willingness to get educated. You know, instead of saying, oh, I know it all, say, oh, here's a class, here's an opportunity, and then to be able to get accepted. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you, Elaine.
Well, you know, I know that you're really big on local government. I mean, in the times that I've talked to you, we're always talking, we've been involved with the Go Local, the Solar Sonoma County, all kinds of different organizations. Why do you see local government as so important? You know, I often wonder about that myself.
Well, in local government, in my community, one in which I can speak probably more to particular issues. Every city and every local government has its particular issues. And being a specialist in this, it takes a lot of time to get up to speed on issues. It takes a lot of time in training for those that really want to know how it all works. And by that, I mean it's something that you do along the way of actually doing the position. You learn, and a lot of time is spent in researching the proper way or the improper way that you're not supposed to go ahead and go forward with. And to me, I think that it's the interest, it's the passion, it's the answers that you yourself have within your personal being that go ahead and motivate you to do the job that you want to do, to ask the questions that you need to ask. It isn't about going back to school. It's about jumping on the bus, traveling at 60 miles an hour, going down a superhighway, knowing that you have exactly a 1-hour destination target, and you have 10 minutes in which to get your message across. And all of that, it's being on that bus, and it's being part of that process that is invigorating, enlightening, and positively transcending.
Well, you know, it sounds like, too, what I think is very interesting is that as you proceed with it, that you have to let your ego go a little bit, and you have to really become your own person and move with the tide and what's happening, because you're accountable to so many people. I mean, to me, it looks like a skill. Well, I'm going to, you know, when we're talking about local government, you know, I came across something very interesting, and I wanted to have your opinion on it. And that is, I read on the internet on June 20th, 2011, there was an article, and it was how the mayors debated and passed an anti-war resolution. And what the thing was about, I want to read this to my viewers. The U.S. Conference of Mayors has just done something it hasn't done since Vietnam, passing a resolution that supports efforts to speed up the ending of our current wars and calls on the President and Congress to bring those tax dollars home to meet vital human needs. How do you respond? I know that Sonoma, or I don't think Santa Rosa was involved either, but how does that strike you as a mayor? I mean, what is that thought? What is your thought on that idea?
Well, I mean, immediately go to the fact that this is local government, and these are mayors throughout the entire country that are meeting, that are making this particular resolution. They understand the climates of their particular cities, and they want to move forward with how they can best support their constituents. And when they see an opportunity in which it isn't a good mix or a good fit right now to perhaps go ahead and be involved in these wars with whatever controversy surrounds them, that it's important to go ahead and think about those at home. And I immediately go to Lynn Woolsey, and I was there when she gave her resignation statement. Basically, it was that she was not going to run again for the next term. And I saw her talk. She's one of my mentors. Whenever I saw her talk, she was always talking about bringing the troops home, bringing home the boys and the girls, the children of all of the mothers. And she represented the view of a mother, which was to bring your troops home safely.
You know, that's another interesting point that you make. You know, oftentimes we don't realize, or we don't think in terms of war, of one mother's child, or mother and father's child, killing another mother and father's child. So, you know, when we start thinking about war maybe in that way, maybe things will change a little bit. I mean, let us just hope. Well, you know, it's really interesting because time goes by so fast when we're in this room. I mean, it's just amazing to me. And I know that you wanted to talk about something about a girl from Sonoma. I think you were talking about Sitslo, an international organization, and travel to South Korea, a girl from Sonoma. How did that happen, and what is that all about?
Well, Sonoma has the designation of being a cheetah slow city. Cheetah, meaning Italian for slow, is the designation that we received from Cheetah Slow International, headquartered in Italy. And this organization is all about a progressive environmental focus in what your city does, along with the melding of quality of life issues that are beneficial to its residents. And a little over a year and a half ago, we received this designation as the first city in the United States. We have since gone ahead and partnered with Sebastopol and Fairfax as the other two cities that join us. So we now have a hub, and we have launched Cheetah Slow USA. But in receiving the certificates for Sebastopol and Fairfax last June, I attended the third General Assembly in South Korea. I was on the stage with the President of South Korea and other ambassadors from the country, and we were hosted by a wonderful contingent of South Koreans in 6 Cheetah Slow cities where government is behind this movement in a big way and has benefited both in a business aspect, a trade aspect, tourist aspect, all of the qualities for their particular residents of their communities. And traveling in all of the cities, it was a whirlwind tour of 5 or 6, but I have to say, eating fresh octopus, going ahead and brushing salt from a salt farm, taking home a 5-pound bag of salt that literally had been manufactured on the spot where I was there, was fabulous. The Museum of Salt. We went on to photovoltaic train that was 4 hours from one end of the country to the next. The energy efficiencies, the models, the food, the green tea capital, and all of the ceremonies involving this. But there are pictures of me drinking out of a lotus blossom used as a teacup with a straw. So extraordinary events and broadening the culture. But what I got out of that was the fact that here was this girl from Sonoma, and that's exactly the way I felt, 13 hours away in another whole culture and civilization, but with people from over 20 countries, 134 cities being represented as mayors and governmental representatives, where you could be in that room full of people, and it was not language that connected you, it was purpose. It was purpose and goal. And to me, that was a place in which I could feel home anywhere.
Boy, that is so exciting when I listen to that. And who would have thought when all of a sudden your son asked you this question, and here you are in Korea, you know, being hosted and seeing all these different cultures. And I bet you noticed one thing. Everybody had eyes, O's, and ears, and mouth, and got hungry and needed water.
Well, that was one thing that there was no lack of, which was food. Food and transportation were wonderfully done by the professor of tourism there. It's fabulous.
What a great thing. Well, you know, we're coming to the end of our program. And, you know, what I like to do is allow my guests to look over here at this camera. If there's anything that maybe we didn't cover or any special message that you would like to put out there to our viewers. Remember, this is Women's Spaces. Please feel free to do so. Just look over here in this camera.
I'd just like to say to all of you, I sat in the, I would say, Civic Center auditorium during a Bioneers convention and was part of a great membership of people and said, wow, this is a large movement. It's a very large movement to be part of the environment and the process to determine our future. The next year I came and I was on stage going ahead and saying to everyone there, last year I was in the audience, today I'm on the stage, and today I am running in my city to go ahead and make sure that we are well represented in this world and the environment for our future. So just remember, wherever you are right here and now and listening to this, this too could be you. But it does not become you unless you put yourself forward and go ahead and listen to what women tell you. Women are your friends, and women will tell you, I think that was really great. And after each speech, if you hear it from a great woman, you need to tell her so, because you are the ones that will propel the future candidates for tomorrow.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better. And I want to thank you, Mayor Gallian, for being here on Women's Spaces. It was an absolute honor to have you. And to my viewers, whoa, that's all I can say. What an inspiring interview. I mean, here's a woman who sits down with her son and he asks her the question. You know, it kind of reminds me of Prince Charles. I saw Prince Charles and they asked him, because he has all this sustainability going, this environmental, all kinds of different things in England that he's bringing forward. And they asked him, they said, Prince Charles, why are you so involved? And he said, well, he didn't want his grandchildren, when he passed away, he didn't want his grandchildren to scratch their head and say, where was our grandfather when all this was happening? And that's the same feeling I get from Lori. When her son asked the question, and then all of a sudden she started thinking about it. What am I doing? Who am I? And then all of a sudden decides to take whatever it was that she needed to do to become where she is today, which is the mayor of Sonoma, which is just very inspiring to me. And to my women viewers, as I do at the end of every show, I try to encourage you to get off your duff. Do something for peace. Do something for the children. And you know, the very least you can do, the very least you can do is write your representatives, write your congresspeople, write your senators, write the President of the United States, your local people. And trust me, there's a lot going on you can write about these days. You know, you don't like the war, write a letter about it. You know, you don't like some of the things that you see on the news, write a letter about it. But make one simple suggestion. Before they make that important bill, before they take that important vote, they ask one question: is it good for the children? Because if it's not good for the children, it's not good for the future. And for heaven's sakes, why do we want to do anything that's not good for the future? And we need to think about those things. Anyway, this is Elaine Holtz with Women's Spaces saying thank you so much for watching, and I will see you the next time.
The woman in your life will do what she must do to comfort you and calm you down and let you rest now. The woman in your life, she can rest so easily. She knows everything you do because the woman in your life is you. The woman in your life knows simply what is true. She knows a simple way to touch to make you whole now. The woman in your life, she can touch